Genevieve, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. We've had technical difficulties, and but we're there. I can hear you loud and clear, which is lovely. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for giving up your time today to come and talk records. You sent the list over, and from the size of the list, it makes me think that you found this quite difficult to now down to like one for each one.
Well, I chose one for each one, but it's such a joy doing this and going down like a kind of history of my favorite music. And there were just so many songs that kind of came up that I love that I have chosen like a favorite one for each, but I
Mm-hmm.
had to like put the full list there. Absolutely.
Well, I do allow you honourable mentions, which is just as well because there's a stack for each. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. But before we talk records, Genevieve, I'm going to just ask how you found. I mean, we've just off the back of some news from the government today. So we're recording this on I think it's the 6th today of July. That hopefully in a few weeks we find ourselves out of lockdown, which will be strange and wonderful and so, in hindsight, just looking back now, how have you found the last 15 months as both Genevieve, human being, and artist?
Well, I mean, it has been a crazy year, and I think it's been incredibly challenging for a lot of people. But I feel like I've been very lucky, and I have been saved by the work that I do, which is so I'm an actor, and I do a lot of audio stuff, audio dramas, audiobooks, commercials, and it's one of the few industries that I think transferred very well to working from home. So got a little home studio, which always sounds very fancy, but it's not. It's just a mic, really, and a duvet over your head. Um, and so I was able to interact with new people and access these other worlds and, just doing fantastic stuff. I did, the Thunderbirds, being Lady Penelope with John Coleshaw. I'm the little 11-year-old boy in David Walliams's audiobook, Codename Bananas. BBC Radio 4 stuff, The Magic Mountain, Thomas Mann. So I've been very lucky in that respect. And this is something I know that you will appreciate being a podcaster, is it was only from recording this stuff at home that I had to become acquainted with like waveforms and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had all these, I've made a podcast and I had all these interviews, and I started to, on Audacity, start to cut and paste these interviews together. And then as a result, I was able to make my podcast myself, which I think it was a wonderful creative project that gave me a huge amount of joy and food for thought. And it was a challenge, but the joy of that challenge took away some of the existential dread of this strange limbo land we were all in. And I also think that there's a lot of doom and gloom in the news, but they don't really publish the good stuff. And I actually think this time has shown us all like really what's important, and focusing on, family and friends. And they're the people who got us through this, and slowing down a bit and not going to stuff that we didn't really want to go to, and just being able to narrow it down. And so, yeah, it's, of course, it's been a challenging time, but creatively, I never would have made my podcast, The Cupid Couch, if lockdown hadn't happened. So I can appreciate this strange time for what it was, but I also am very much looking forward to the world going back to normal. Definitely.
It's so strange. You're so right, in regards to starting to assess what really matters. And I think that human connection was something when it was taken away from us, we really, started to notice how much we need that in our lives. And one of the things that I love about podcasting is the fact that it's very, very kind of punk in its ethos. And the fact that I love the fact that when, studios are shut and not being able to go and sit in rooms with guests and chat, you kind of, you've learned how to use Audacity. You've then gone and found guests, I presume, recorded like this remotely, and then put these things together and put it out. And it's like, that's as punk as it gets. It's like, right, this is all I've got on my disposal here. It's like, it's completely DIY. So let's see what I can do. And I think that's not just podcasting. I think there's been so much, creativity that has been born out of this terrible time that we've all had to endure. And I think we've seen really amazing television shows and music being made in completely unique and different ways. And I think that we'll look back on that and go, oh God, yeah, that was made then. That's why that is so unique and different. And yeah, wonderful. Right. Well, let's start the playlist. And for track 1, Genevieve, I'm going to ask you please to tell me the song that you think has the greatest ever intro.
So I'm gonna a caveat for my choices, which is, I mean, there's so much fantastic, moving, exquisite music out there that I have to choose these songs that are the ones that I feel like have endured for me,
Okay.
the ones that I keep coming back to. I am a huge musical theatre fan, and the song "Something's Coming" from West Side Story is one of my absolute favorites. The 1961 film is iconic. I know there's a new one coming out, which I haven't seen yet, but it's written by Leonard Bernstein, and the lyrics are by Stephen Sondheim when he was only 27, and it's just da-da-dum, 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 da-da-dum. I mean, it's just the way that music can story tell, the way that just the strings, the way it makes you feel, as he says in the song, that something is coming, the sense of like fate hurtling around the corner. And it's so full of youthful optimism and joy and excitement. And yet it's very poignant because the audience knows, as it's based on Romeo and Juliet, that his fate is hurtling around the corner, but it's also going to be tragic. So to me, it's just magic, that song.
Did you hear it before you see the film, or did you see the film before you?
I think I saw them at the same time. So when I was a kid, I saw West Side Story, and it's just it's a magnificent film.
Was even in them kind of like early moments of seeing stuff like that, was that already kind of laying foundations in in your mind of what you potentially wanted to go on and do?
I think so. I mean, when I must have been 10. I saw the Broadway filmed recording of Stephen Sondheim's Into the Woods, and Bernadette Peters played the witch. And this is mad. We did it at school.
Right.
We own the musical is actually in 2 halves. The first half is like the happy fairy tale, and then the second half is like the darker bit. And we did the first half. So for about a decade, I never realized there was a second half to the musical, and we got to do it at school. And I think it's the creativity and the wordplay, and it's quite discordant at times, and just beautiful. So yes, I think it was those kind of formative things that I saw. Sondheim is a massive hero of mine. I'll try not to talk about him too much.
Well, we will talk about school in a moment, but I'm just interested to know what almost made this for track 1. What are your honourable mentions?
My honourable mentions are, I mean, in terms of as an introduction, I think "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right" by Bob Dylan is just sensational. I actually saw Dylan in concert in 2016 in Berkeley in California, which was just cool. I feel like I've seen the King, and but I like lots of different kinds. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, I like lots of different kinds of music," but I do feel that I do like music from all different genres.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, like things that stick with you. When I first heard "Breeze Blocks" by Alt J, blew my mind.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, it's like nothing else. It's so original and strange and dark. I love it. John Denver's Annie song, just sensational. It's like a poem to love. A song that always makes me so happy is "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles.
Yeah. What an intro.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. And I think, I don't know if you saw this going around on Twitter, they've isolated McCartney's vocals.
No, I've not heard this.
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, just glorious. And another one that's just so of the era, I mean, it makes you want to go straight back to that time, is "In the Summertime" by Mungo Jerry. And then another one, which I don't know what it is, the chord progression is kind of basic, but it's magic, is "Where Is My Mind" by the Pixies.
What an intro. Why has no one chose that? Why has no one chose that? That makes no sense. That's a glorious chat.
And actually, I heard G-Eazy. I heard this song of his the other day, and I was like, why do I know this? And
Yeah.
he sampled it. I do find that some of the songs nowadays that we love, if you look back, it has, there is some kind of the roots, the essence are in the 70s or whatever. Yeah.
That's worrying, Genevieve, when you're getting to the age when you're noticing the samples are from songs that you grow up listening to. I'm already there. I've been there for ages. It's like my kids listen to stuff now, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what that is? And they're like, yeah, whatever, Dad. But oh God, that's a worry, Genevieve. You've hit the age now where it's gone full circle, and you're getting them original samples in new records.
I think it's a testament to the time. Maybe it's just because they didn't have social media. They
Yeah.
just they were less distracted. It was less it's more concentrated somehow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. Well, look, I'm going to ask you for track two, please, to tell me the first song that you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
I heard this song, I think, when I was 12. It's Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. And again, it's one that I feel I've chosen because not only did it move me, but it has really stayed with me. And I think it will stay with me forever. Um, it's it's a song, if I'm sure everyone knows it, but it's, I mean, the song, about this, like this dream of a fast car about getting away. It's about so much more than just the song, which is exquisite, but it's about our dreams and hopes and feeling trapped. There's so much anguish in it, and it's so beautiful. Um, I think I don't know if I think it's some famous American writer who said that the majority of men lead lives of quiet desperation, and I think when you're 12, you don't really think about that kind of stuff. And it was the first song that made me ever realize how difficult life is and how difficult life can be for people, especially if you're trapped. And yet it's still got hope because she's
Yeah.
still dreaming, and people always, they keep dreaming. And so that song really touches me. And every time I hear it, I feel like it gets deeper.
And what if you had to pinpoint the emotion? What would that be?
I mean, an adjective that springs to mind is poignant. And I think poignant is a word that has both some anguish and hope in it. And I think that's the
Yeah.
paradox that makes that song so profound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Was there honourable mentions for this one?
Yes, there is a song, I only discovered it recently. It's Tom Waits, and it's I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love with You.
That's a great record.
I mean, I love Tom Waits, but I hadn't heard that song.
Mm.
Um, and it's like the I do know ships passing each other in the night. If anyone hasn't heard this song, I'm sure they have, but if they
Yeah.
haven't, then give it a listen. Yeah.
Was you like growing up in those, in your sort of early years? Was there music on at home?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I have a half brother. I've got two half brothers, and one of them is 10 years older than me. So when I was 10, for my 10th birthday, he gave me two albums. One was Eminem, and the other one was The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. So
I mean, they're going to serve you well, them records.
they, I mean, kind of, what more do you need?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the Eminem Show album, and so I don't think my mum, because my mum brought me up by herself, so I don't think she had a clue that her 10-year-old knew every lyric to Cleaning Out My Closet.
Probably for the best.
Probably, probably. And I think that set me off, like, just becoming obsessed with lyrics. Like, I don't know why, but I can remember any song that I love. I know every single word, and I don't know why. But it might have been from that time because I just was obsessed and I listened to it over and over and over again. I mean, by the time I was a young teen, I knew every word to Forgot About Dre, which, I mean, is a crime against humanity if anyone heard me, really. But yeah. And the answers to no, I will not do it. Get a few tequilas in me. Who knows what will happen?
Oh, brilliant! I mean, you mentioned Tom Waits earlier. If you wake up and you're feeling a little blue, you're feeling a little low, what's your way of dealing with that? Do you go and reach for the best of S Club 7 and get positive and dance around the front room, or do you like to immerse yourself and process that, that mood, and listen to music that suits them emotions? Have you got a sort of process for that?
Well, I think it's both. I think there is something about, I don't know, whatever the feeling is, if you're feeling a bit blue, there is something kind of delicious about luxuriating in some of those feelings. And music is like smell. It takes you back. It reminds you of people, places, things. So there is that. But then sometimes if you really need or want to pull yourself out, you can listen to a glorious song. I mean,
I'm not suggesting you've got the best of S Club 7 in your CD collection, Genevieve.
Actually, you say that, but do you remember Blue? Blue came on the radio the other day, and I was like, down, 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 and I was like, all rise, all rise. It was great. But it's a really good idea when something embarrassing happens to you to share it on a public broadcast. That's a really good
Always.
idea. But I had to drive. I actually drove over to see a mate of mine in East London last week, and I just had a real fantastic time just blasting music, and I was listening to Rasputin, Boney M, and Gloria. There's the American version, but the Italian one by, I think it's Umberto Tozzi.
Okay.
Just bangers, really. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Always put me in a good mood.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm going to talk school. And for track 3, I'm going to ask you to tell me a song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
I mean, talking about not saying embarrassing things. I mean, do you remember the song Baby Cakes?
See, this one and the next one, these are the ones where they have to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
You can't be cool with these ones.
Okay, so Baby Cakes, I just loved. I mean, I was like, I don't know, 12, 13. I mean, I just loved that song. I didn't realize that the lyrics were quite filthy until about a year ago. But
Really? I didn't know that either.
yeah, was it like, baby cakes, you just don't know how I like it down low.
Oh
Yeah, maybe they were just doing the the limbo.
yeah, I don't think so.
But the other one that I remember hearing, I had a crush on a boy, and I remember I think I called him and it went to voicemail. And because I remember it was very brave to, like, he asked me to call him, and I thought, oh my God, this is so grown up. But it went to voicemail, and he had Hey Ma by Cameron on his voicemail. And I just thought, oh, could this boy get any cooler? And so I think it's the sexiest song. It's just kind of like, it's just so of its time.
Yeah.
I just love that song, Hey Ma by Cameron. That reminds me of school days. Yeah.
How were school days?
They were fine. I mean, I went to school in West London. I went to quite a nice school. I don't know, I didn't really find my people till I went to university, if that makes sense. I feel like, yeah, it was okay. But I mean, teenage girls are not necessarily, like, it's not always the easiest. Like, the growing pains of being a teenage girl, not very easy. But it was all right. It was okay. I mean, nothing particularly. I wouldn't want to go back to it. I was kind of glad when I left school. I was like, oh yeah, freedom,
We touched on it earlier, but by the time you got to school, was you quite aware that the arts was something that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my first job, I mean, I literally had, like, one line, but my first job was on Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I loved everything about it. And it was, that was a really fantastic experience. But my mom, who'd been an actress and an agent and a theatre producer, she was like, try and get an education if you can. or drama school or university, do that. Don't just go straight into it. I mean, there are so many different routes, but going to university, I did a lot of drama there, including 2 Stephen Sondheim musicals, one at the Edinburgh Festival. So for me, like, that was a massive step in terms of enjoying and exploring acting and drama, and that's where I found my people. Like, that's what I mean. I think there was that kind of, like, I didn't really enjoy that kind of non-creative mentality at school. I like being around artists, musicians, actors, directors, people making stuff, and that was really exciting.
There's nothing better, and I say this to my youngest daughter all the time, who's just left school, and I'm like, when you get to college, you'll find your tribe, and then everything changes. You find the people that you're not thrust together with. You can pick the people that you want to be with then, and I think that's such a moment in your life when you do find your tribe. I think that's pivotal, and will alter the direction of what where you want to go, and will help that as well. In regards to school and college, and finding yourself in this huge film, was you a confident child?
Was I a confident child? I mean, I don't. I don't know, because being a child and growing up is such an unconfident time. So I don't think I. So, as I said, my mum raised me by herself. I love my dad dearly. They get on well, but he lives in Holland. I'm half Dutch. So my mum brought me up, and as a result, I felt like I was always mixing with adults. And she always said, like, shyness is a luxury if you can afford. So I was always thrown into situations where I just had to make conversation and, like, get to know people and stuff like that. So I feel like a friend of mine once said, if you can't beat the fear, just do it scared. And I think that's what I felt like growing up.
Right.
I just had to do it. And I had to, if you're an only child with a single mom, like, you have to make friends. Like, you have to just go say hello, and maybe you get knocked down and you have to get up again. So I think I had to be quite tough in some ways, which, I mean, everyone has a different route. But I feel like for me, was I confident? Sometimes, but then, being a teenager is the most unconfident period ever. And yet I wouldn't take that back, because being unconfident and being a bit vulnerable is a good place to be.
Confidence aside, you've chosen one of the most ruthless and difficult industries to, carve a career within. So with that in mind, would you say that you're a driven person?
I think that if you're lucky enough to do what you love, whatever that industry is, there's something about the enduring quality of whatever that is that you like to do to create. And I love working with people. And I love making stuff. And that's what's been so joyous about over lockdown, doing these audio dramas and working with different people. And, so I feel like I'm driven in the sense that I love what I do. And when I'm lucky enough to actually do it, then that's heaven. Making this podcast has kind of made me think, oh, maybe there's other things I'd like to do as well. Because being behind the wheel, that's the only thing I would say, is that as an actor, sometimes you're waiting for other people to make decisions. Whereas making this podcast, I got to interview people and cut it myself and have some kind of creative control. And that was fantastic. So I was very driven making that because I love doing it. So, yeah.
Track 4, first record you remember buying from a record store, please.
I mean, why are you doing this to me, Stu?
You can't be cool. You can't be cool on these ones. I've told you. They're the rules.
Okay. Again, I think I was about, I don't know, 10, 11. 50 Cent, In the Club.
See, that's all right. That's a cool tune.
Yeah, no one, like, my parents obviously didn't know who 50 Cent was. And because I'm half Dutch, they were like, that's rather cheap.
Yeah, in hindsight, he should have been called 50 million, shouldn't he? Like he's all about the bling as well. Why sell himself so cheap? Yeah, it's a very good point.
Mm. What was it? Get rich or die trying.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw someone that had that tattooed on their back once. It was shocking.
Hides t-shirt. But the first song on iTunes I bought was I think it was Tim McGraw and Nelly, Over and Over. That was the very first song I
Yeah.
bought. And then I did this at university. We did a stage tour of Antony and Cleopatra. We road tripped up the east coast of America. We started in Miami and we went like to Nashville, and at some bar in Nashville, this guy kind of did a kind of, oh hey baby, and he said that he was Tim McGraw, and to this day I don't even know if it was true. So I might have met him,
You never
might have
know.
not, never know.
He
Yeah.
might be still in that bar doing that line to anybody that walks in there.
I mean, to be honest, if you introduce yourself as like Tim McGraw, I mean, like, is it? I mean, are you really Tim McGraw? Tim McGraw probably wouldn't have to do that.
I love that. Did have like record shops been like important for you? Have you ever like when you went traveling, up the coast and that, and you was in town, would you go in a record shop and look about? Nowadays, if you see a secondhand record store or rough trade or something like that, do you like to go and immerse yourself in it?
I do. Something I want to do is actually get a proper record player. Vinyls are just gorgeous, and
Yeah.
I mean, they've been making a comeback for a while now, but they are beautiful objects in themselves. They're so nostalgic. They sound better, and there's a way of like really cherishing and enjoying an album.
And the
So
artwork, you get to experience the artwork so much more. I mean, obviously on CDs you would a little, but now if people are just downloading it straight onto your phone, you don't really get to marvel at this, some of these icon. I mean, what was the last iconic album sleeve? Because I can't think what it is. It would have been, in my opinion, probably when vinyl was still being made. If someone was to exhibit 100 of the most iconic record sleeves of all time, I don't reckon any of them would have come out in the last 10 years.
no, I mean, as soon as you say that, I think Pink Floyd, or yeah.
Clash, it's like straight away you just think of these iconic sleeves, and I think I don't want to be Grandad Stew and go, oh, it's all better in my day, because I think it's wonderful that people can go and experience the whole world of music at their fingertips. Like, who done that? I don't know. Let's find out. And within a second, you're listening to it. I think that's marvelous. But it's the artwork is the thing that I think is a real loss. And I also think that there's something to be said for the journey and of having a bit of pocket money and remembering the day that you went to that record store and you bought that album, and that was the only one you could afford. And so when you got home, you'd listen to it and listen to it and listen to it whilst looking at the sleeve. I think that's something that is lost a little bit, that journey of being able to sort of know the moment you got that. I think that's something that's lost, but I do think that's also balanced with the opportunity to have the whole world's music, on your telephone.
It's definitely a paradox, isn't it?
Absolutely. Where are we? Oh, we're going to grow up a little bit now for track 5. We're going to go clubbing. The song that soundtrack your years in clubland, please, Genevieve.
I mean, there are so many classic club songs that like someone of my age would like know that I'm gonna go for the ones that are like embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
So at university, I mean things like I remember like a G6.
Yeah.
I loved that. That came out when I was at university, and was also lucky enough to then go to Japan, to Tokyo on another theatre tour. We did 12th Night, and we did karaoke in Tokyo. And
I mean, that's got to be the best place in the world to do karaoke, right?
it was. I mean, I'm pretty sure me and a girlfriend sang like a G6. I'm not. You can't even sing like a G6. So what we were thinking, I don't know. I'm not even sure we're allowed back in the country. But that was great. But then the songs that I love, like you know, Duck Sauce's Barbra Streisand, but that's sampled from Boney M. Was it Gotta Go Home 1979? So that's not so bad.
That's a great dance record, though.
Great dance record. It's fantastic.
Do you like to dance?
I love to dance. I love it. And I feel like it's something that, I mean, yes, of course, like now because of COVID, but even more recently, there just aren't that many places really that people can properly go and dance. I don't think, anyway. I think we need that.
Oh God, I run a nightclub, and getting the news yesterday that in 3 weeks' time I can hopefully open. I can't wait. I've not seen or made people dance for 15 months, and it's going to be joyous. And the fact that there's also another whole year's worth of young people that have turned 18 that have never been to a nightclub and are going to come and experience it for the first time, it's going to be wonderful. Oh, absolutely. So are you a clubber?
I mean, when you say clubber, what do you mean? Because like going out and having a dance, I mean, is that clubbing, or are you talking about like raves?
No, just going. It doesn't matter where. Do you like to just go out and dance? Is it something that you try and do regularly?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that nights out are made by the people you're with and the music you listen to. So some of the best nights I've had are at people's houses.
Yeah.
Because then you can just, everyone puts on songs that they love, and
Yeah.
you have a dance, and it's just fantastic. I miss that.
Wonderful. I'm going to take you home for track 6, and I'm going to ask you for a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
So this was difficult because if I'm a Londoner, I was trying to think who is really native to London. I mean, I think the Smiths are Londoners, are they?
They're Mancunian.
Mancunian, that's right. Oh God.
But if you want to talk about the Smiths, please, can we talk about the Smiths?
So I only discovered the Smiths, their music, like quite recently through a friend of mine, which is also like the joy of people sharing stuff and teaching you stuff, but now I've discovered the Smiths. I mean, it's a world of joy. I mean, there is a light that never goes out. It's just I've never talked about the Smiths with anyone since I discovered them, but they are hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that song? Some girls are bigger than other girls.
Some girls' mothers are bigger than other girls.
Yes. I mean, they are so unique and strange and wonderful. And the other day I had to do a very strange self-tape audition, which was just no lines, just having a chat to camera about what you're up to. And so I play a little bit of guitar, and I sang that song because it was a dark comedy, and it's just like there is a light that never goes out. I mean, and if a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side. No. Ladies and gentlemen, for the purposes of audio only broadcasting, Stu is showing me his tattoo, the lyrics of which are on
There
his
is a
chest.
light that never goes out.
No, I didn't know that. I did not know that. That is very cool.
It's a special song, that is.
It's very special.
And hilarious as well.
Okay, I'm glad. I feel like if you've said that, I'm allowed to think that they are funny. Because imagine if you turn around and be like, no, they're not funny.
Girlfriend in a Coma, like it's and what's really interesting is like, I mean, I have to stress that band probably, one of my all-time favorite bands, and I adore them, and I think Johnny Marr is an absolute genius guitarist, but I've also been a bit saddened at what Morrissey's been saying of recent years. Some of his comments have been not favorable, and just bizarre for somebody. He said some quite right-wing things and has been kind of pulled apart in the press for it, really. He said some strange things and wore badges that are associated with right-wing groups, and some odd things that makes it a really, really strange thing to digest for somebody that, for me and millions of other confused, angst-ridden teenagers, he was your comfort blanket. He was the guy that said it's cool to be this, it's okay. And it's just I'm very confused as to where my thoughts are with Morrissey, but I have to learn to separate the
I was going to say
art
that's
from the person.
a massive question in music, yes, but also art and literature. Can we separate the artist from the man or woman?
It's a very, very common conversation on this podcast because a lot of people pick Michael Jackson records because Michael Jackson's got some, whatever your thoughts on whatever he's allegedly done, he has made some of the most magnificent pop music ever. And lots of people grew up listening to Michael Jackson, and so they pick Michael Jackson records, and it's and I always say, can you still listen to that as a as a DJ? I wouldn't necessarily play Michael Jackson records to people now, but I can disassociate that personally, and I will listen to Michael Jackson records and enjoy them as art. Because it is a strange one, Genevieve. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but it doesn't just transcend itself to music. It then becomes, some artists have done some vile things, and it's like, where do you stop? Do you just judge it on the art or the person? I don't know. Where does the land lie with you?
I think it's incredibly tricky terrain to navigate, because if you take that argument to the extreme that we should separate the artist from the person, then we become like the moral police.
Yeah.
And actually, artists and the life that they reflect and express, life is messy. People are, a very sanitized version of art and culture. Then I think we enter like communist territory. And also the fear that inspires of not being able to like a writer because he was a misogynist or whatever, which a lot of them were and have done very toxic, questionable things. But I don't want to do a burning of the books. I don't want to get rid of that. And also, I think that it's very important. This is just my personal opinion, obviously, but I think that it's very dangerous to get rid of the things in the past that we don't like. We should show them, because if you think that they are morally objectionable, then we should remember them and recognize that as well. Whereas if we just go, I don't like it, I'm going to get rid of it, then people will forget the damage that has been done. So I think that it's a tricky thing. I think when enough time has gone by, one can maybe separate the artist from the man when it comes to unpalatable and immoral, then that's more dangerous. But Stu, if I could answer this question and have a firm answer, then I think it would be much easier. But it's not easy, is it?
Absolutely.
I have to say, actually, there's one. I mean, I'm not talking about track. Was it track 6? The home country favorite artists. I have to say, I do adore Radiohead. And I think, I mean, I'm not sure they're Londoners as such, but Oxfordshire or whatever. And the song Creep, apart from being just an extraordinary song, I did a TV show, and in a kind of dream sequence, my character got married, and I walked down the aisle of Ely Cathedral in Cambridgeshire, which is where they always film all the major like wedding scenes, like in The Crown, like that's Ely Cathedral, I'm pretty sure. And the choir sang Creep.
Wow.
I mean, so I was walking in this massive wedding dress, actually basically just trying not to trip and fall on my face. But that was extraordinary. And I love Radiohead. I think they're, well, musical geniuses really. But yeah, they're my special mention.
Oh, that's a great shout as well. I think I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Creep come out in the early 90s, and hearing that for the first time, and just hearing this sort of almost sort of tranquil nursery rhyme, and then just that initial crunch of that guitar before that song just explodes was like, whoa, I did not know that was coming. And then just to hear at the end, like Tom York's voice just soar, and you just realize like, oh, okay, this guy's a bit special. And it's strange because I think at that point, like Creep was a big hit, and there was no other real hits on that first record. There's a couple more singles, but they weren't like great big hits. I think Creep sort of blew up in the States as well. But I think it was obviously when they come back with the Bends, and all of a sudden, they release High and Dry and Fake Plastic Trees and Street Spirit. It was like, oh, hang on, no, this band aren't your average guitar band. These are something special. And then they've just consistently, with every record, just made you go, oh, right, yeah, they're definitely not your average band. They're something different. They're just absolute pioneers and true artists, that will take that jump and potentially lose fans because that record doesn't sound like the last record, but they want to progress and they want to innovate and change. And I think that's so important. I think that's something that the way that the recording industry is now, we'll see less and less of it, because if, band's first record was to sell the same as Radiohead's first record, nowadays, they wouldn't get a chance to make a second record on that label. It'd be dropped because the industry is a very different place, unfortunately. So I think when you've still got these bands, that have the capabilities and the relationship with the label because they're super famous, I think that when you've still got bands like Radiohead and artists like Damon Albarn that try and consistently progress, that's when people in 30 years are going to look back and view them the same way that we view the Beatles and Bowie and, these absolute mavericks. So, yeah, wonderful shout.
I was thinking about Creep. There's a theme I think actually here, which is that it's a bit like I'll be watching you,
Yeah,
because there's a contrast between the beauty of the music and the darkness of what's actually being
yeah.
said. And I think that's so powerful in music,
Mm,
because the voice, the voice of the words of the person singing in your ear, Creep or I'll be watching you, it's there. It's like having a narrator of a book who is a stalker or a murderer. So you feel naturally aligned, like you can understand their pain, but what they're saying is so concerning that you kind of don't know how
mm.
you feel about it. And I actually reminds me of, so I said I did this Sondheim musical at the Edinburgh Festival called Assassins. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't, no.
It's I think you'd love it. It's about a lot of the assassination attempts of American presidents and the characters, the disenfranchised people who have attempted or succeeded in these assassinations. And there's a duet in it called Unworthy of Your Love. And it's between a guy who was obsessed with Jodie Foster and then tried to assassinate a president. And then my character was a woman called Lynette Squeaky From, who was the lover of Charles Manson. And they sing this song, and it's a beautiful pop ballad, sometimes so clever. And it's just a beautiful song. And she's saying, I am nothing, you are wind and devil and God, Charlie. It's like that. And underneath it, it's like, I would do anything for you. I would kill for you. I would drink poison. In contrast with this pop ballad. So
Yeah.
I love contrast like that when the words and the are doing something completely different to the music, like Creep,
And that's the Smiths. To go back full circle to the Smiths, that you listen to how jaunty Girlfriend in a Coma is, it's an absolute quirky pop song. Yet the theme of it is about his girlfriend who's in a coma. And and there's so many Smiths records that There Is a Light That Never Goes Out is a really joyous pop record. Lovely chorus, but the theme of it is death, and it's and dying with someone. But yeah, wonderful. Okay, so you get to play DJ now and Tastemaker. And I'm going to ask you, please, to tell me a song that you think many people may not know that you would like them to hear, please.
Okay, I have one and I have a backup, or a special mention. I think Yumeji's theme, which is a which is from the film In the Mood for Love. It's a It was made in the year 2000. It's a Hong Kong film. I think it may have either been nominated or won the Palme d'Or, and one of the actors won an Oscar, I think. Um, and it's an exquisite piece of music. It's a film theme tune, and I think it's the most stunning film. It's set in Hong Kong in the 60s, but it was made in the year 2000, and it's just beautiful. So I would encourage everyone to check that out. And another one, my backup, is A.R. Rahman, the legendary composer who did, I mean, famously Slumdog Millionaire, but so much other stuff. And his song, Urvasi. Do you know that? Do you know that one?
I don't know.
Urvasi, as it was sampled and used, I think, in the Will I Am song. It's My Birthday, so people might recognize it from that. But if you also look at the music video, it's just hilarious. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. It takes place on a bus, and they're dancing on the bus. It's brilliant. But it's just fantastic. Oh, and one more, if I'm really allowed. It's a kind of
Squeezing him in right at the end.
It's an Afrobeat kind of song. I know it's just so hard, this trying to pick one, by a guy called Davido. He's a Nigerian American singer, and it's called Fall. And it's just, I heard it on the beach, and I just fell in love with it. I love Afrobeat kind of music, and makes me feel so happy. And again, the lyrics are kind of, it's romantic and also a bit kooky, and I just love it. It makes me happy.
Wonderful. So Genevieve, we put together a Spotify playlist to accompany the podcast so people can go and listen to all of the songs that you've spoken about today. As we touched upon earlier, we appear to be reaching the end of a very difficult time, and restrictions will be dropped in the coming weeks. What are you looking forward to personally for the rest of 2021? And what have you got happening professionally?
So, I mean, making this podcast, The Cupid Couch, it only came out like a week ago, and the episodes are still coming out. It's a documentary style series, so that's been really exciting. I'm thinking about cutting a second season. I have more audio dramas coming out. I'm doing the Thunderbirds with John Coleshaw, the audio series of that. Anyone knows John Coleshaw from Dead Ringers? He plays Parker to My Lady Penelope.
I mean, how cool's that, playing Lady Penelope? I mean, how iconic is that as a character?
She's an absolute babe, and the fun thing is, because John Coleshaw is obviously like probably the world's greatest impressionist, and he does, Lady Parker, talking like that. Oh, hello, lady. Oh yes, the telephone for you, lady. I mean, I can't do it really. But,
I mean, you nailed that there.
But My Lady Penelope is a real homage to the original Sylvia Anderson, because we really want to do a throwback. So she's more kind of like Parker, get the rolls. We're going for a little drive.
Wonderful.
And Parker, when you traverse Dartmoor lanes, do reduce your speed. Going at that pace is apt to be disconcerting. So that it's great. It's great fun. What else am I up to? We're going to see, I guess, what happens with, I'd love to do a play. It'd be lovely to be back on set. But I also think that like this time has taught us just to try and be a bit malleable and plastic, and like, go with the flow and see how things go, and just also be grateful that we're still here and that we're well and we've got our health, and so we'll see what happens, really.
Wonderful. Genevieve, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a joy talking records with you.
You too. Thank you, Stu. It's been a joy for me too. Thanks.
Right, I'll press